Do 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 do. Hi everybody. I'm Brian Hogg, and I'm doing this weird project where I'm right now just learning how to model things by modeling a bunch of old Transformer stuff. This one being the Jazz pistol from G1, obviously. So I'm adding some of this stuff here. This is very sped up, so I don't really have the time. I designed this, or modeled this rather, while my son was actually at swimming lessons, so there are gaps here that I kind of cut out where I was staring at the pool and nothing was happening. The general thing I'm going for here is I'm going to try to recreate as sort of cartoon accurately as possible these weapons and some heads I've done, and I'm going to do more. I've doing more and more as a way of learning how to model and getting sort of the vibe of the 80s style guys for an eventual possible like sort of G1 inspired stop motion thing. And so making guns because guns are fun, I guess. And so the photo reference I have here is just, as you can see at the beginning, there's just a one shot of Jazz and his gun, and then I sort of zoomed in and rotated just the one. So the difficulty with trying to be kind of cartoon accurate with this, with the original G1 stuff, is that the cartoon wasn't accurate to itself from moment to moment. So you got to kind of pick one or pick a couple and sort of combine things. I'm trying to make it as accurate looking, but then elsewhere in an episode, if they run out of time or budget or something, his gun will look a lot more simple. And then a lot of toys, generally speaking, or even the movie and other media where these guns they get visually more complicated. And I just really like the kind of blocky thing, just really simplistic, without extra lines and doodad, and just sort of as it is. And I'm modeling this in a really neat app called Shaper 3D, which is an iOS app, which is, they have a free version and a subscription one, and it's pretty cool. It sort of works to the way I think. I'm still getting the hang of it, which is part of the reason I'm doing this as well, is getting better at this. And I'm not sort of thinking what to say here, so I feel like it looks visually kind of obvious, so I'm just trying to, this is not the best way there to sort of carve out a hole. I kind of did that awkwardly, but I'm doing this, and this only goes as far as completing the model. Subsequent to this, I sort of broke it apart into pieces for printing, and added some gas spots to put some magnets on, so like the pieces will kind of snap together in kind of a fun way that my son can use to sort of look like he's reloading the gun. This is sped up, I think, like 4 times, so I don't move this quickly. But yeah, I want to start with this sort of core piece, or the body, and then I guess kind of work forward into the the details. I'm not like working on the guts of the models, and just sort of what it will look like sort of externally. I am putting some thought into how best to use these tools to sort of most simply achieve the look. Like there's a lot of neat things you can do with this CAD app, most of which I think I'm just scratching the surface, but like there's probably a better way. What I could have done there, instead of how I was doing that, is I could have made one side of the gun. I sort of do it later on, but I could have made, instead of making 2 of those kind of sphere things and flipping them, I could have just made them all on one side and then made the gun basically half the gun and then mirrored it. That would have been probably a little more straightforward, but it's just a different approach. And so these are the kind of fluting, I guess, I don't know. And there's a lot here as I'm doing this. You'll see me like reselect something several times because you tap with the Apple Pencil. This is a very Apple Pencil heavy app. And then I'll accidentally select the wrong edge or face or vertex, and then I'll need to just start the selection over. And there might be a good way to sort of deal with that. I could deselect it, I guess, but I generally just hit deselect all. And I don't think there are any spots in this video where I accidentally lose the position of the gun, because if you rotate it a certain way, it'll kind of disappear if you put your finger, the rotational aspect of the viewing interface will, if you hit something in the background, like it'll rotate on whatever you're selecting or whatever your finger's on. So if you put your finger over empty space, it'll rotate over empty space, and the whole model will go away, and it's pretty funny and disorienting the first few times it happens. So right now I'm still working on this as like basically one solid piece. As I said, I don't get into breaking it up into later pieces, but I'm trying to think of how that would work, mostly for 3D printing purposes, because some of these, if you break it apart, you don't have to worry as much about the support structure and stuff like that, which is also another thing I'm getting a lot more familiar with is 3D printing. This is a nice bit here because I can make the cool gun shape just by extruding and then kind of changing the angle of extrusion and then extruding again at a different angle. And see, one of the decisions I made here is I made a little hole in there, like it's a barrel, but it's a laser gun. So I don't know. I feel like a lot of guns, like Starscream's guns, don't have a hole in it. It's more like electricity off the top of like a Tesla coil or something. So there probably doesn't need to be a barrel. But then again, Megatron's a very visible barrel. So it just looks kind of cute, although it's kind of annoying to clean that because it's a pretty small little hole, like when I do the print. So in future I might, especially the scale I'd be using for this stop motion that I would eventually get to, would be smaller. Like I'm designing this for human scale, which I think did I actually do that? No, okay, so I didn't design this for human scale. I printed this at human scale, but at the top left you can see the scale of each of the blocks. So each block there is just like, anywhere from 0.1 to 1 millimeter. So I had to, not in this video, but in a later video, I scaled it up drastically. And I waited until I had done that before I worked on the gaps between pieces. Because when you break it apart, you can't have them, you have to give it like a third or a quarter or half, depending on the thing, a millimeter. This is my reference there. See, it's also visually ornate, and I was looking for another shot for the grip actually, because all my reference has Jazz holding the gun, so I don't know what the grip looks like. So this part is entirely interpretive, and I think probably a little more visually complicated than it needed to be, but it still looks pretty cool. I have an Ironhide gun that I made that has this. The grip is a lot simpler, just because I just put but I think there was actually reference for that, whereas this I'm just kind of winging it. I mean, it looks like the grip kind of angles down the way at it, but there's not that many. This is ostensibly a sort of character sheet kind of drawing, like it's a representative drawing of the character, not any pose, but there's not. I wasn't able to find any very good, like here's every asset in the show at different angles or whatever. This is a 40-year-old show after all, so some of those things are sort of lost to time. And this is definitely not the most efficient way to do this. I don't know a better way to do this, but this cannot be the best way to do it. So I'm just sort of I'm subtracting, and then I'm moving the piece over, and it's just this would have been, I guess, a better use of modeling half of the grip and then mirroring it. But it's a really neat app. It's a lot of fun. And, this is a fun little thing to make these where I'm not trying to make them look real. I'm trying to make them look cartoonish. And my metric for that is always like if I look at it after and it just feels kind of fun, or some like weird subversion. Like this shouldn't, when I print it, it shouldn't look, it's weird because it shouldn't be, like it's this cartoon thing. And so it's kind of a it's an interesting kind of experience looking at them. Not that I'm the first person who's done this by any stretch. It's just my execution of it. So here I'm awkwardly making sort of a grip texture, but because I've inset it, I don't know what the point of it is. It just sort of occurred to me to do at the time, and there I did not put the pieces close enough, I think, so I had to redo it. Yeah, and then. Yeah, again, this is like the least good way to do it, but as I continue to do this modeling and sort of put these videos up, hopefully my process will get a lot better. And so I waited until the end to kind of give a filleted edge to give it a little bit of a smoothing, although you can't really tell that much when you print it. So, and in this interface where you see the lines, like there's a black line for each thing, it looks like it's a lot more pronounced a visual, that it's like a lot more obvious, a curved edge, but it's really not when you print it. Oh, I guess I do start breaking this up in this one. Pardon me. I didn't put the magnet gaps in it though. Or, wait, did I take that off? Anyway, I undid this part after the video because I realized I was at the wrong scale, I think. Yeah, there was when I realized the scale was wrong, because that little gap was for a magnet. Because that's a section view. I'm still trying to figure out how that works best. But that 3.5 millimeter or 3.2 millimeter thing was because of some of the magnets I'm using to connect. So I'm drawing that and then realizing my scale is massively off. But I think it looks pretty cool. It's really neat to hold on to. It has a nice kind of feel. And I don't have footage of the build. I have some footage, I think, that I'll show in a subsequent video of some refinements, and probably what it looks like when it's actually printed, how the magnets work and everything. But so if you like it, I think this is cool. I'll be putting out more of these. I have a Wheeljack head that I've already designed. That will be, I don't know, that would be the next video, if not some more jazz stuff. So if you think that's cool and you want to see more of that, just, like and subscribe and all that jazz, as it were. Thanks for watching.